Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today, I want to talk about something a little bit different from the usual ones that I talk about. It's going to be a guide for newer players on how to MVP their own Magnas. So let's imagine a scenario, which could be you or it could not be you, where you're a wind main, okay? Let's say you're a wind main. The gacha gave you plenty of very good SSR characters, so you can probably beat Yggdrasil Magna pretty easily. But now here's the problem. You're a wind main, okay? You want to be farming Tiamat Magna to get more SSR weapons for your wind grid. And to make things worse, you don't have a good fire roster and a good fire grid. So how am I going to use my wind composition to defeat a wind enemy? Well, first things first, our goal here is to get the boss's HP to 50% before we pub it. And in order to do that, we're going to need several things. So let's go to our team party page. First things first, you want your Dark Fencer class to be as your main character, okay? And while you can have the same your strongest wind roster team available, you want your main character to be the favored element that can beat wind. And that's going to be fire. So while I have my wind grid right here, my main hand weapon here is going to be a fire weapon. It can be a fire sword or it can be a fire dagger. That's so you can actually land your debuffs. That's the main reason why we want your main character to become a fire character. Your wind, you can just put in whatever wind characters or wind summons you can put in. If you have a few wind carbuncles, these are usually pretty cheap to get 50% wind damage mitigation for 3 turns, assuming you can survive for the initial 8 turns. With that, the sub-skill you should be bringing here, it could be 3 sub-skills. You could have Armor Break, the one I'm using here, to further reduce Tiamat's defense. You could use Rain of Arrows 3 to reduce Tiamat's damage. Or you could use Blind, so that you might be lucky enough to dodge Tiamat's auto attacks. With that in mind, let's just get to fighting Tiamat with this composition and see how it goes. Now ideally for our support summon, we should be using a Grimnir. If we can find a 140% Grimnir, we'll use that. But if there's none, then we'll just have to use a 120% Grimnir. That's still fine. And with this team, let's begin. Alright, so the first thing you always want to do is to use your debuffs from your main character. So let's use Miserable Mist to reduce Tiamat's attack and defense. We're going to use Gravity Wave. And then we're going to use Armor Break to further reduce Tiamat's defense. Now see here, all the debuffs that I use all landed. That is very important. In comparison, if you use Lancelot's debuffs, chances are some of it or most of it will miss. So let's see. So see how it said 2 misses? So the 2 debuffs that Lancelot usually does all miss. That's why you don't want to use wind characters to debuff wind bosses or whatever other same element that you have, because it usually will miss. Now unfortunately, because we're using a wind grid and my main character is a fire character, he won't be doing too much damage, but that's fine. His main role is to debuff. Even Monica can't even get her debuffs down. So at turn 2, we use Delay. You don't want Tiamat to use her Orgi at all. And continue attacking. Remember, our main goal is to hit Tiamat to 50% HP. Alright, when our characters are getting pretty low, here's when I recommend using Grim Near Summon. He'll give a 10k shield, which is very, very powerful in the early game. And continue to use all our offensive skills. Now see here, Melissa Bell would have died if I didn't use Grimnir's shield. Continue using every one of our skills. Alright, so at this rate, when you're really close to 50%, you might as well just pop it, right? Because you've just about secured your MVP. So you scroll all the way down over here to request backup, and you just pop it to everyone. Meanwhile, continue fighting Tiamat so that you can kill this quicker. It should be over pretty soon. Oh, there we go. And see how there's two red chests? One is your host chest, and the other red chest is for MVPing. Okay? I'm going to talk about what these red chests mean in a second. So, okay, so this is our loot collected. We have 4 gold chests over here. These would drop no matter what, even if you hosted or didn't host, or if you just came and punched it once, you'll get all these gold chests right here. The first red chest here I'm trying to highlight is your host chest. So when you host, you're always bound to get this red chest, assuming the raid clears, okay? The second red chest over here is your MVP chest, and this is what the whole guide is about. You want to get this MVP chest, red one here, is the reason you want to get this is because red chests have a good chance of getting an SSR weapon, way more than these gold chests here, right? Getting more red chests means that you have a high chance of getting good loot, and with good loot comes a good possibility that it could be an SSR weapon that is going to be beneficial for your win grid. So what is beneficial for my win grid is Tiamat bolts. You want these guns to drop. Those red chests are going to have a pretty good chance of dropping him. So if you skipped all the way to the very end here, the basic lesson is if you're fighting Tiamat or Magna, make your main character into a fire element using Dark Fencer to debuff the boss. If we use a different example and say that we're fighting Leviathan, right? Leviathan is a water enemy. You want your main character to be Earth, because Earth beats water. And if you're playing Earth, it means that your debuffs will land against Leviathan. So that is basically going to be this guide on how to essentially MVP your own Magna raid. It's what really carried me, or at least that's what I did at the very beginning of my Grand Blue Fantasy days, and hopefully you can do that too. Just use whichever strongest character you can get, and yeah, so hopefully you're gonna get some pretty good lucky loot. Alright, that'll be it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you another time.